Hello, welcome back to Learning Curves. I'm Anastasia and I'm so excited about this video. You guys, this video is so exciting for so many reasons. One, it's the entire inspiration behind this series, Learning How to Sew for Very, Very Beginners. Two, we are actually going to start using the machine via today's video. And three, I'm telling you what we're building up to. If you want to hear about what we're building up to and the next few videos I have planned, then hang out back at the end. This video is the entire reason that I started this series. I heard so many people talk about wanting to learn how to sew, but they were scared of it. Apparently a lot of people are afraid of sewing into their finger. I did it one time, it's not that big of a deal. So in this video, I'm gonna tell you how you can get comfortable. So if we compare learning how to use a sewing machine like learning how to drive a car, we've already, metaphorically speaking, read the manual and passed the written test. We've got a permit, and we are gonna practice driving. We're not going straight into a project here, much like in a car, you're not going on a trip immediately. Is this too much? The part that I want you to get especially comfortable with is not necessarily starting the car and putting the car in park. We'll get to that. I want you to mostly be not afraid of the car actually moving. We'll talk about places to get fabric in just a minute, but first I wanna tell you that what I recommend you do is put your fabric on your machine, just in front of the needle, and lower your presser foot. And then move your hands away and start the machine with your foot. You do not have to touch it. As we talked in our last video, the functionality of the machine, the way that it operates, it's going to pull your fabric through itself. We're not doing this for cosmetic purposes. We're merely doing it to get familiar with the machine. And that's it, just over and over and over again. Get a piece of fabric, put it under the presser foot, start your foot on the pedal, and go. You can adjust, see how it feels. Just like cars, how the accelerator or brakes might be more or less sensitive, it's the same thing with a foot pedal, not a presser foot, a foot pedal. They just have different sensitivities. Get used to yours. You're fine. It's fine. You'll be fine. Then after you've done enough passes of just letting the fabric move through by itself, once you feel comfortable with that, next I recommend taking honestly just a number 2 pencil or a pen or something and making a mark on fabric and trying to stay on that line. Actually, I almost an audition. I had a tryout, maybe it is an audition, I don't know, a test at a costume shop in Los Angeles. And the test they had me do was to write my name in cursive and then use one of their industrial sewing machines to stitch over my name. Right now, you don't need to know how to merge onto a highway or which way to turn your wheels when you parallel park on a hill. Right now, you just need to know how to go with some comfort and some-ish accuracy. So let's talk about sourcing fabric. At a later point in time, we'll talk about great places to get large amounts of fabric, but for this, you don't need large amounts of fabric. Really, you can get fabric from just about anywhere. I do recommend trying some different weights of fabric. You're gonna see what fabrics you like working with and what fabrics are more difficult for you, the more fabrics that you try. You can definitely start with just a basic cotton. If you don't have any fabric in your house, here's what you should do. You should go to a fabric store and either go get a fat quarter or a remnant. Remnants are, they sell fabric on, it's called a bolt. What the fabric is wrapped on, the big, you've seen them, it's a bolt. So once it's down to less than a certain amount on the bolt, that's called a remnant, it remains, and they will sell it at a discounted price and all the remnants will be together in a section. So like at Joann's, you'll see them rolled up. Joann's is my closest fabric store, I like Joann's. Okay, so it was bugging me so much, I looked it up and I found out why it's called a fat quarter, and that also tells us the size. So if you imagine a yard of fabric, you could cut it into 4s vertically, so you have like 4 long strips of fabric, and that would be 1/4 of a yard wide by the full length of the fabric tall. Those are called long quarters. But if you cut it into 4 even squares, so half across the length of it and half across the width of it, then you get a fat quarter. So it's half of a yard wide, but then vertically only half of the width of the fabric. So half of a yard is 18 inches, and most fabric that is sold in fat quarters is 42 inches across, so that gives you 18 by 21 inches. If you're going to a Joann's, then they'll have these fat quarters up front. They've got a lot of very similar textured fabrics up front with lots of different prints and colors, and they're very universal in use and purpose. But those are 2 different options that you can get for a good deal to just experiment with some different fabrics and just see what you like, see what it feels like. Really, the way that you get comfortable sewing is by just sewing. So start No hands. Make sure that the fabric gets under your presser foot, that the teeth of the machine are grabbing it and pulling it through, and then you don't need your hands anywhere near it. And then once you start to feel more comfortable with that, you can start to guide the fabric through the machine. Just test it out. Do whatever the sewing machine equivalent of donuts in a parking lot is. I do want to call out the two main things that you're likely to run into and give you some tips on that or how to avoid them. So one tip is make sure that the front of your fabric gets under that needle and gets pulled by the teeth under the presser foot. If it's not getting pulled, your machine is going to sew and the thread's going to start getting gummed up and the fabric can even get kind of like pulled down into the machine. You didn't break it. You didn't break it. You're fine. If something gets stuck, stop. Do not put your foot on the pedal again until it's unstuck. Lift up your presser foot and use the hand knob. If it's stuck, then you have to kind of, well, the way that I found to do it is you kind of wiggle it back and forth, not quickly, slowly, while you gently sort of pull on the fabric. If that's still not releasing relatively easily, then you'll take a pair of scissors and start to kind of snip some of that thread. The challenge there is you don't want to, no matter what you do, you're not going to break your machine. You'll be fine. Worst case scenario, you take it to a repair shop and they like suction out the thread. You're fine. You're not going to break it. What I'm trying to avoid is if you cut too much of the thread can go back down in there. If it does, get a pair of tweezers and pull it out, or even a pair of scissors and very gently grab it and pull it out. Just not close the whole way, otherwise you're just cutting it more. Also, I definitely recommend that when you do sew a line, trim your extra thread before and after so that that's not getting pulled into the machine. And then the other big issue you might run into is tension challenges. So I mentioned in the previous video on my machine where the tension adjuster is. If the threads are not looking correct, top or bottom, just play with the tension. Tighten it, see if it looks better, loosen it, see if it looks worse. You can mark it with a pen next to the fabric since you're not using this for anything. You can just, for your own notes, this was a 3. And it doesn't look good. This was an 8, and it also does not look good, you know? This is not about it looking good. This is about you getting comfortable. And you'll get there, and you can do it. And I'm so excited. Now, let me tell you what's coming up ahead in this series. So we have 2 or 3, I haven't shot them yet, so I'm not sure how many, 2 or 3 more videos that are going to be about some of the information you need to really feel confident going forward, to really get going. We're going to talk about the other items you need to sew. You know, it's not just a sewing machine, you need scissors, etc. We'll talk about that. And then we're going to talk about some jargon, some words specific to sewing projects that are very helpful to know. Straight of grain, bias, selvage, seam allowance, all that business. And then we are working up to make something. I'm not going to tell you yet because I'm actually between 2 or 3 projects. But we're going to start with a very straightforward beginner project that is specifically for someone who has never sewn anything in their entire life and all you know of sewing is what I've shared on this YouTube channel. You're gonna do it. It's gonna be great. Oh, I'm so excited. If you run into any other issues or you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I also have a full-time job and babies, so I'm currently only able to respond to comments like once a week, but I'm doing what I can to improve on that. If you have a problem, I'll try to prioritize responding to that. If you have any requests for projects to make going forward, let me know. It doesn't just have to be beginner projects because I also have some beginner to intermediate and intermediate to advanced and advanced projects that I'm thinking about. Like dog pajamas? Do we need dog pajamas? I feel like we need to make dog pajamas. But that would involve making a pattern that fits your dog. So that would be advanced. We'd have elastic, probably snaps. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sticking around this long if you did. If you like this video, please like this video. Please be sure to subscribe to not miss any more videos in this series, to follow along on this journey. I'm so excited. I'll see you next time. Bye. I think every time I scream after the like, bye. Thank you for watching.